In this video, we're going to take a look at how to interpret the program. We've got our lifts established, right, in our exercises. So what you'll notice next to each lift or exercise is there's a number and a letter. If the lifts and exercises have the same number, that means they're paired together. And we would do them for the prescribed number of sets and reps based on the week that we're on before we would move on to the next set of exercises. So we would do 1A and 1B as a superset, meaning back-to-back, rest as needed in between, before you go on to the next set of exercises, which would be 2A, 2B, and 2C, which would be a triset. So we're going 1, 2, 3, and resting as needed. The next column, we're looking at the training target. So that's a very general look at like what we're trying to achieve with each exercise or lift. With the wall-supported split squat, we're working on lower body mobility and strength. Dumbbell bench press, upper body strength. Wall press, abs, core, lower body mobility strength for the kickstand RDL, and upper body strength with the 2-point row. Looking at this column, we got tempo. Now, tempo is just a fancy way of saying how fast or slow you do each lift or exercise. Now, the first number is going to be the eccentric or lowering phase of the movement. So with the 3 being the first number and that being the eccentric or lowering phase of the movement, that means that like on the split squat, what I would do is I'd take 3 seconds as I lower myself towards the floor. The middle number will be the pause. Now, you'll notice with the exception of the core, there is no pause. So it's 0, so I would just, on the split squat, I would go down, lightly touch my knee to the floor, and then come back up. And if you can't get your knee to the floor, what I would recommend in that situation is placing some sort of object underneath, like where your knee would land, and give you some sort of consistent depth that you can get with each repetition to ensure that you're going low enough on each rep. So, for example, you might use like a small box or even like a weight plate to drop your knee towards, so you're kind of raising the floor. That's not a bad thing. That can really help you get consistency with your repetitions and get a lot more out of it if you need to do that. The final number will be the concentric or the overcoming phase, where we overcome the resistance. So for the example of the split squat, after I lower myself for 3 seconds, I would come back up fast. So taking roughly a second to get back up to start, or my intent is to move myself up to starting position fast. And what I do is in the notes is I indicate what each tempo means. I'll give you an example here. For rows and deadlifts, it can get confusing because the first movement is not the eccentric, it's the concentric. So we're overcoming the resistance first, and then we're lowering the weight, which can make these numbers confusing. Hence why I put everything here in the notes for you, so you don't have to remember, okay, was I doing 3 seconds on the way up or 3 seconds on the way down? You don't have to worry about that. This column here is going to be your sets and reps. So what I do is each week it'll be laid out how many sets, and you'll have a range of repetitions that you will do for each exercise or lift. The reason why I have a range is because I don't want you getting so fixated on one number that you push yourself to the point where you reach that number, but in the process you sacrifice your technique. So for example, let's say that split squat was 2 sets of 15 reps. Well, if I'm doing 15 reps and I hit rep number 10 and I start to feel my technique change, then what are those next 5 reps going to look like? Probably not very good. As I accumulate more fatigue, they're going to get worse and worse. So then we have an increased risk of injury, and we'll be getting less out of the actual lift itself. So hence the reason why there's a range. So if I was starting to feel my technique slide at rep number 10, and I consciously felt that and made a conscious effort to adjust it on rep 11, but I was unable to, then stopping at 10, there's nothing wrong with that. These are guidelines, okay? And in another video, I'll teach you how to track your progress, but that's just to give you some insight on the fact that this isn't set in stone. This isn't going to make or break the program if you reach that range of repetitions. I want you really honing in on your technique and executing on that. Not only the technique, but the tempo as well. With that 3-second lowering phase, that's going to be incredibly helpful for helping you refine and really dial in on the technique of each lift, and you'll get a lot more benefit from the lift and exercises by doing so.